Dedicated to the great outdoors, it's Southern Woods and Waters with Hugh McNaughton. Southern Woods and Waters is brought to you by Gander Mountain, Greenform Construction, the Burns Insurance Group, Cunningham Buick GMC, Nashville Marine, America's Motorsports, and now here's Hugh.
All right, welcome everyone to this Thursday night's edition of Southern Woods and Waters, and that's not me. That is not me, ladies and gentlemen. I wish it were me. No, I'm not this time of year, I don't. Because that big buck right there would get you in a quick heartbeat. Hey, welcome to the show tonight, and as you saw, we are talking about deer and turkey and ducks and bobcats, and we have got a super show for you tonight. I know I tell you that each and every week, but I mean it each and every week. My guest tonight is one special lady. That's right, her name is Rachel Burchett, and let's go ahead and broaden out. And Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the big reason you're here is you do taxidermy.
I do. I did all this.
You did all of this, and I'm going to tell you, I am so impressed, especially all the fine artwork that you do. You put a lot of detail into this stuff.
I do. I spend a lot of time on them. Turnaround's probably my weakness. I do have a decent turnaround, but I do spend a lot of time on them.
But Rachel, I mean, just from the big boys standing here, you put such detail into even the wrinkles in the neck, where he's been in the neck. He looks like he's fixing to give me a wet willy is what he looks like. but I mean, there's a lot of detail to this.
There is. There's a lot of time in it. I don't ever use a form the way it comes. I do a lot of modification to every form, trying to get the wrinkles and the details and the stuff to really show up and pop.
I gotta say this, even the veins that run from the nose back towards the eyes and the back of the jaw, even that's detailed, especially in the doe. And you took great detail. A lot of people make does look fuzzy or you know, there's not much to them, but you know, yours makes it look like a real doe. I mean, she looks like she's fixing to blink and blow at me right now.
Yeah, I said she's got the blowing look because
she looks like, she's very attentive.
Yeah.
Rachel, you have a shop located where?
In Baxter, Tennessee.
Baxter, Tennessee. Okay.
It's right next to Cookville. It's just the next exit up.
All right, just an awesome place. The reason we're having this show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is because a lot of you are already killing trophy animals, trophy deer especially, and you need a place to go. Well, you know, I always like to give you other choices. You know, there's a lot of great taxidermists out there, but I tell you what, Miss Rachel here she goes way beyond, and you're going to see some of the best taxidermy work you've ever laid your eyes on. I tend to judge people or taxidermists by their work, and if I want them to do mine. You know, a deer is to me, if I was a taxidermist, I wouldn't think a deer is as hard as some things.
I agree. They're all tough, and it's hard to get everything right.
Yeah.
But deer forms have come a long way compared to the other stuff. So I always say anybody can mount a deer. To get the details right, it's harder.
Right.
But deer are kind of the run-of-the-mill taxidermy thing that we all learn on. And the manufacturers work a lot harder to give us products that are easier to mount deer.
The one I judged you by was a bobcat.
Okay.
Okay. And I will say this, that I think that most taxidermists have problems with bobcats. They have a real issue with getting that cat to where it looks just like it came from the woods. A lot of them make their heads bigger, or their eyeballs are too big, or something's wrong with them. They don't look right. You can judge a good taxidermist by its bobcat or its birds. So we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Because the third segment of the show, I want to show this bobcat. So I want people to be blown away by this bobcat. This is going to be awesome. Baxter, Tennessee. When you're doing deer, stuff like this, like mounting a buck, how long do you give yourself? I mean, let's be realistic.
Well, I can always say that I can mount a good deer mount in a week. It'll take a couple of weeks for it to dry and be ready for the painting and the finish work. But the hardest part about it is how many you have stacked ahead of it.
That's right.
You know, last year I took in around 120 if we count the ones that came in through the summer, people getting them out of the freezers year round and stuff. So, you know, when you stack them up on top of that, it's kind of an assembly line. You do one part today on 2 or 3 of them, one part the next day on 2 or 3 of them, and just try to keep them rolling. I do average a year or less on all my deer turnarounds. Some of the bigger stuff that, like my bear rugs that have to go to a tannery, come back to me, I mount the head, it goes to a rugger, comes back to me. Some of that may push up, you know, 14 months, but I try to keep all my turnarounds.
What's the longest?
I've never had anything over 18 months.
Okay.
And I would pretty much put a guarantee on that. If I did, I would, you know, we would work together on some price reduction or something, because that's just too long, I think.
You also don't just stop with deer, turkey, birds, bobcat. You do bear, moose.
I haven't done a moose yet, but I have elk in.
Elk, that was
and
what
I
it was.
have,
Okay,
I've done a Brocket deer from South America. I've done a black buck. I'm getting an African safari that's supposed to be coming in February. So I do all birds and mammals. I have some tundra swans that are coming up that were killed in North Carolina with the permit there. So
awesome.
I got a lot of. I don't do fish except for reproductions. That is one thing.
Now you will do reproductions.
I will do reproductions.
Okay.
But I don't do skin mounts.
Well, we absolutely sent you somebody.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I believe it was. Somebody called for a reproduction,
Yes.
and we sent them to you.
Yes.
So the reproductions is kind of way everybody's going anyway.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's catch and release.
Yeah, catch and release. They take measurements. Is that all that you require?
I prefer that they take really good pictures too, because you have your smallmouth.
How do you want them? How do you want them to be pictured? On a scale or something?
No, more just the lighting and the coloring, because you'll have a smallmouth that has green tendencies or a smallmouth that has brown tendencies, depending on where it was caught at. So I know they want it to look like their fish when I paint it. So I prefer that they just kind of cast it over in the sun where the light hits the colors good, and make 2 or 3 pictures before they release it. And of course the measurements. I'll need the measurements.
Does this apply to all types of fish, whether it be bass or trout?
Pretty much. I mean, you know, they can all vary depending on if it was, you know, really cold water up north or really warmer water or muddy ponds or lakes or rivers. It's better to have good pictures.
How long on a reproduction do you require?
Usually reproductions, I try to say a year on pretty much everything just to be on the safe side. But
Well, you're by yourself. You're seasonal.
I do it all.
You do it all, so you're seasonal. I mean, deer is in season right now.
I don't have anybody that skins for me or anything. I mean, my husband does help with some of the woodworking, and he does help skin down, but as far as caping completely out, I do the skinning, fleshing, prepping, mounting, all of it.
Okay, on the tip of the week, though, this week, we're going to ask you to give us a tip on caping so that somebody gets something ready for you. But I want to ask you something else. In prepping a deer, and you mentioned this just a couple of minutes ago about pulling them out of a freezer. I have seen all kinds come out of a freezer.
Yes. Yeah.
What's the best?
As far as how long to keep it? Or, yeah. I prefer the minute the deer hits the ground. It's easier just to start there, I guess. The minute it hits the ground, you need to keep it cool and dry. The biggest mistake I see people make is they think they need to put it in a big ice chest to keep it cold. But moisture and heat create bacteria. Even if you only have one, the moisture, it will grow bacteria pretty quick if it's wet. So if you got to put it on ice, bag it really heavy so it's not getting any moisture into the bag. And then of course, as soon as you get home, you prep it, you whatever, you put it in the freezer. When you put it in the freezer, make sure around these pedicles that you tape that closed. Because if not, there's still air coming into the bag. So it's almost like it's still open because the air comes and goes through any holes. So you know, you want to tape it around that real tight and make that bag airtight. You know, tape it or put it in 2 or 3 different bags if you need to. And then I recommend not leaving it more than 6 months. I mean, if you know, and if you need to make payments or something, I understand that. You know, we don't always have it right then, but try to get it to your taxidermist in at least 6 months.
All right. Hey, we got to go right now here in just a second. We got to go right now to our deal of the week. This week's deal of the week is we got a 2017 Mossy Oak Sportsman. Oh, it's the Sportsman. It's not on here. Oh, it's wrong one. Okay, we got a 2016 Sportsman G3, and this one doesn't have a motor on it, but they are at Nashville Marine. They'll put a 50, a 70, a 90, whatever size you might want to, and that is a great, great pan fishing rig right there. If I'm not badly mistaken, that is the pan fishing rig, and that is great for crappie and bluegill and brim, and you're going to see some pictures here in a few minutes that's going to make you want to go get that rig. Go by, see David McMurray, my good friend and spiritual brother, David McMurray, over at Nashville Marine, or Eddie Robertson, and tell him Southern Woods and Waters sent you. Okay? Hey, I at least wanted you to know, check out our Facebook page. Boy, we've had Rachel on there like 3 or 4 times trying to harp on her so much, and we want you to be aware of who's going to be on the show. So go on our Facebook, check it out weekly. We'll let you know what's going on, who our guests are going to be, and what specialties they do. Like us, share us, even comment if you want to. Ask us any questions you might have, and there's a bunch of you doing that. Just keep them coming. We hope to answer everybody, but thanks so much. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get in depth with Rachel about a few other things that has to do with taxidermy. Be right back with more Southern Woods and Waters.